Yeah, and honestly, that's the smart move. So for me, I picked up a little bit as just short-term swing trades. The only ones for long-term investments I would go near, for me at least, is Ethereum and Bitcoin. And the thought process is just what you said, is that we don't know what's going to replace which technology, which one, So like if you looked at 2 years ago, if you looked at the top 20 cryptos, a lot of those are no longer in the top 20 and they've fallen down. And now you have like Solana, Avalanche, which weren't in the top 20 a couple years ago. So people have to be really careful. I mean, it's okay to take a long shot with a very small amount of money and just roll the dice. But if you're really trying to be an investor, you need to stick with the best of breed in crypto, because I think before the bear market is over, a lot more projects will go bust than what we've seen, even with the Terra Luna and even with Celsius and all these other things. I think a lot more will happen negatively first.
Hello and welcome to Wealthy Value. In today's video, crypto analyst and chief market strategist at inthemoneystocks.com, Gareth Soloway, updates about whether or not Bitcoin bottom is in, his most recent interpretation of the Bitcoin charts, and when he believes is the next Bitcoin buying opportunity. Gareth Soloway also reveals what his crypto allocation looks like in 2022. Make sure to stick around till the end of this video, where Gareth Soloway shares his outlook for Bitcoin and Ethereum for September and October. If you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the post notifications. Let's dive right into the video.
Yeah, so that was remarkable how hawkish Jerome Powell was. I mean, his whole speech was 8 minutes, and the markets just freaked out, right? I mean, from that point on, we basically saw nonstop downside in the equity markets, the stock market, all the way until this morning's jobs report. And the jobs report was so key because it showed small signs of things weakening just a little bit, but not enough to scare the markets that we're going into a fast recession, right? So it's enough. It was just a little weakening to show that maybe the Fed can start to wind down the hikes, which is what the market wants, but not enough to show a bad recession coming, almost like that Goldilocks, not too hot, not too cold numbers this morning. Yeah, so number one, I don't think we're even close to that at this point, unfortunately, right? So, one of the things you look for, what we saw Terra Luna collapse in crypto. That was a big event, right? So you saw crypto really seeing some of these, but it didn't go to the extent where people started to totally freak out about their crypto holdings. So that tells me crypto still has more downside to go. I think at minimum 12, 13,000 on Bitcoin. I even have a worst case scenario of 3,500, which would mirror the Amazon collapse in the .com era, right? So Amazon dropped 95% from peak to trough in the .com collapse. If you look at like Amazon, what it is today, and ultimately is Bitcoin that type of big entity, then that may be the foreboding for what we could see there. In the stock market, you still have people that are buying the dip. One of the key notes about when a market finally bottoms, it's when everyone's way too scared to buy the dip, right? So we're definitely not close yet. I think just at bare minimum, we have to revisit the pre-COVID highs. So if you go back to February of 2020 in the stock market, that's probably at bare minimum where we have to go. And I think that's just if we don't go into a recession. So just the tightening that's going on, the Fed tightening monetary policy, stopping stimulus, the government obviously not able to print quite as much as they were during COVID. I think that's where you're going. If we enter a recession, that's where you could start to see us go even lower than those levels. So one of the biggest concerns I have is that we're entering this new phase of the market where long-term investors are really going to struggle. If you look at the long-term investor, they've really been in control since really 2009. I mean, every dip's been bought. We've made new all-time high after new all-time high, and there really hasn't been a scenario where we've had a long bear market. However, I think now you're starting to get into that situation because the Fed is going to be handcuffed from printing us out of the next recession in a meaningful way because the inflation is going to stay too high. So let's take a look at some charts here. I want to bring up some charts, show you guys what I got going on here. This is the Bitcoin chart. You can see we're beautifully bouncing off of the 2017 highs. This is the high going back to 2017. We bounced here, and now we're retesting. Bitcoin may see upside to about 23.5, then I think down to 13 to 12. And then if we go to the spiders here, take a look at the spiders.
Flag right there? Is that a
What's
bear
that?
flag? Was that a bear flag on the is that a bear flag on the Bitcoin chart?
Yeah, right here or here.
Yeah, right there.
Yep. So that is the only caveat is I feel like you've had bear flag right here and another one here. And so it's almost too easy to think that the bear flag will work out perfectly. So my guess is everyone's expecting us to break lower in Bitcoin. People are kind of feeling like that right now. So my guess is you'll have a little bit of a short-term move up, get a few more people bullish, and then we'll probably retrace to this channel, right? So this was a beautiful channel that price stayed within. It broke, and oftentimes what happens is you go back and retrace to that level, right? So my guess is there's a decent chance we go right back here, then we see the bigger move to the downside on the charts. So yeah, I mean, this is all weird, right? Because the chart, you're right now it's a little bit more bearish, although it is a rounded bottom a little bit, which is not quite as ideal bear flag as this one was over here. But it's certainly, again, there's no denying that Bitcoin still, to me, has downside. And I would just counter that with, just for people out there thinking about it, there's been a lot of people that have said, oh, the lows are in at 17.5. How does that make sense when this is the first bear market for Bitcoin where the Fed isn't printing money, right? So really, if anything, this should be the worst bear market of Bitcoin's history, because it's the one where the Fed's not quantitative easing, right? So yeah, I mean, that's just some crazy stuff going on here. And then you had QE1, QE2, 2.5, then COVID, and then, I mean, it's been printing and basically down to zero interest rates since that point. This is the first period where really we're seeing that pulling back on monetary policy and tightening. So to me, that tells me that it could be, unfortunately, worse than past ones. But I do think for Bitcoin's case that wherever it bottoms out, that's going to be an amazing buying opportunity. I don't think Bitcoin's ever going away at this point. I think it's going to be something that we're with us for the long term as the digital gold. And so I'm eagerly awaiting moves down so I can actually accumulate some more Bitcoin. So yeah, just quickly on the S&P chart here, and I'll quickly go over this. Number one, what a move up, and like you said, bear market rally, right? I mean, was that an incredible move up, almost nonstop? But look at where it stopped.
I got short squeeze on that. I got short squeeze on that rally.
That was it, man. I mean, when you got to the highs, what did we see? We saw everyone saying, oh, the bear market's over and all this stuff. And that's a dead indicator that it's now going to reverse. I mean, it's this contrarian psychology that makes good traders and investors. And just thinking about that, as soon as you start to see on Twitter people saying, oh, the bottom's in, new bull market, what did we see? We saw like GameStop, AMC, Bed Bath Beyond. They were all running crazy. And it was like, people were, the Wall Street Bets crowd was trying to relive the heyday of 2021. And it's like, well, dude, it's not quite that same market condition because now the Fed's tightening, right? So people had, they just don't realize that. A lot of them are newer investors. We saw, I mean, the chart on Bed Bath Beyond is just incredible. Like to see this pop and how quickly it deflated. I mean, that's nuts, absolutely nuts. But that's the nature of it. So going back to the spiders, look at the support area here. That's where we bounced. We're still having a nice little bounce today. I think there could be a little bit more upside, but eventually I do think we're heading down to this pre-COVID high over here on the charts. So I think, again, short-lived rally here, not like the last one. This bear market push or bounce could last for a week or two, but not like a month or two like the last one. And then I do think we roll over in late September, October, and into year end. So right now, I have different accounts set up. I have an account just for crypto, account just for stocks. Stocks, I'm in and out since I go long and short quite a bit. I'm sometimes full in, then sometimes I'm only 25% in. Right now, crypto-wise, about 33% invested in various cryptos. Basically, I was looking for the bounce off that level we talked about, which was the 2017 high. So I picked up a little bit of Chainlink, a little Solana, a little Avalanche, just for a quick bounce here, as I do think they'll bounce up. And I think, we could just take a look at like Solana here, but I think it's bouncing up just a little bit here. Yep, just getting a little bit of an uptick here, maybe a small micro bull flag here. So I think, resistance around 35 is probably the extent of what I'm expecting. But I think for the most part, yeah, I have definitely in my mind the idea that once we get into the mid to low teens, that's where I really start to buy up more and more Bitcoin. And then I'll leave myself room in case it gets into like below 10,000. But yeah, definitely proper allocation is important here. When I say load up, I'm not talking about investing all my money, right? It's strictly a percentage of my net worth is allocated towards crypto. And at most, I would have that amount in crypto at one time. I think you might get a little bit of a bounce here early September. We're around this 3-day holiday weekend. Markets are starting to think maybe the Fed is coming to an end of their hiking cycle. I think by late September, October, that might be the case, but then I think we're going to start to see weaker economic data that's going to freak the markets out about maybe the Fed already pushed us into a recession and it could be a bad one.
So, what are your thoughts about Bitcoin's next bull cycle? Tell us in the comments. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you soon with the next video. Thank you so much for watching.